Originally designed by Charles Moneypenny, the same architect who created Daytona International Speedway, Michigan International is best known for awesome speeds and competitive racing spawned by its broad racing surface and 73-foot wide, 18-degree banked turns. Michigan's width and steep banking ensure there's always more than one racing groove, and the fact that MIS is not a super speedway means drivers have more than enough power to make a challenge out of the turns at both ends of the track. Once upon a time, Indy cars frolicked on those high banks at breathtaking speeds. Witness to Paul Tracy's record qualifying lap of 234.949 miles per hour. We're not talking kilometers. Today, Michigan regularly vies with Daytona, Talladega, and Texas as NASCAR's fastest speedway, with Jeff Gordon holding the NASCAR Cup Series track record at 206.558 miles per hour. Richard Petty, David Pearson, Bobby and Davey Allison, Dale Sr. and Jr., Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson have all added their names to the roll call of MIS winners, one that also includes names like Andretti, Foyt, Unser, Mears, and Zanardi from the days when Indy cars raced in the Irish Hills. Allison to Yarborough, Andretti to Zanardi, the world's greatest racing drivers have been coming to Michigan to test their mettle for more than 40 years, and the fans have followed by the hundreds of thousands. Tonight, it's race number 6, the Davidson Builders Truck Series, and it's next on HBR TV. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Michigan Speedway, the Michigan International Speedway, 2-mile oval here in Brooklyn, Michigan. Let's take a look at the race details for this evening. 85-degree ambient temperature, 62% humidity, partly cloudy skies, somewhat breezy at 7 miles per hour, and 122 degrees currently the surface temp of the racetrack itself. 90 laps going to be the distance here tonight, 180 miles. Qualifying already underway, so let's not delay a moment longer and go trackside to cover the action. Paul Durkee on the speedway. Should be the first lap for Durkee on the clock. Durkee goes P2, 40.748. Millett's first lap of 40.32. He currently sits top of the board. We'll watch the 315 as he's out of turn 2. Millett had a rough go of it last week. Hoping to rebound from that. Have a solid finish. Brian Torsha jumps up into the second spot. Now Redding second spot. Only about a hundredth shy of Millett's time. Millett back to start finish. Lap number 2. To the 315. Where does he land? 226. A little bit faster second time through. Jesse Redding was quick on his first lap. He's dropped to P4 here. Into 3 and 4 for the last time in his session. Meanwhile, the 6 of Caleb Sisk goes P1. Redding does not go faster on his second lap. Sisk goes P1 on his first lap. Bests the 315 by about 4 hundredths. Sisk wraps up a 366 on his second lap, does not go faster. Derek Welch, one and done. It looks like 40.804. He's going to start 18th. Dave Holmberg, the number 63 on the track. His first lap of 40.961. 40.770, faster for Dave Holmberg. Jesse Sperling out on the racetrack, 40.943, his first time by. Skylar Harrod in the 3, currently 8th fast on his first lap, drops to 9th, 40.329 the first time by. Sperling finishes his lap, puts him on the second row in 3rd. Real tight times here at the front of the field. Second lap for Harrod, 40.426. Does not improve. Eric Beadle on the track, the 119, 40.850. 26 quick his first lap. Improves a bit, lap 2, 40.616. First lap for Kilgore, 40.420. Kilgore out of Yorkville, Illinois. Just starting lap number 2. Just about 6 minutes in here, 4 minutes to go in the session. Lap 2 for Kilgore, across the stripe, picks it up to 14th, 40.345. BJ Cox out of Somerset, Kentucky, starting his attempt. BJ Cox at the stripe. It's going to be lap 1. He's got to get 2 in here. He's got plenty of time to do it. Just under 3 minutes. Got about a 40-second lap here. He's got plenty of time. Lap 1 for Cox, 40.351. Put some P16. He's going to need a big improvement here to get himself into the top 10. We'll see if he's got anything for it. Out of turn number 2. At the stripe, no improvement. Pretty consistent, though. 40.395 for PJ Cox. That should wrap it up for most. Jarrett Woodard still sitting at the end of pit lane here. Don't know if he's going to make the attempt. I don't think he's got enough time to make an attempt at this point. With that, we're going to jump out, get a quick break here. We'll be back with our starting grid after this. Stay with us.
met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Back at Michigan Speedway, let's take a look at our starting grid for tonight's race, the Davidson Builders Truck Series, round number 6. On the pole position, fittingly, it is the 6 of Caleb Sisk. Lap time of 40.182 seconds. Outside front row, it's the 315. That S4 guy, Zach Millett, missing it by just 44 thousandths of a second. Row number 2, it's the 29 of Jesse Sperling. Starting 4th, it's Tyler Dittmer in the 34. Fifth starter will be Albert Anderson, and Justin Lawson starts to his outside in position number 6. 7 starters, Brandon Coleman in the number 19. Rob Chipman Jr., the 58, starts in the 8th spot. Jeff Ottinger will start 9th. Paul Durkee, 10th. Mike Adamson will roll from the 11th spot with Skylar Harrod starting in P12. 13th starter, it's Alfie Charon Jr. in the 9. Russ Kilgore starts 14th. Jesse Redding will roll off P15. 16th goes to PJ Cox. 17th belongs to Chris Klein. Cole Henriksen, the sole possession of 18th. Scott Milner will start 19th. 20th goes to Brian Torsha. 21st, Hunter Parsons. 22nd to be Evan Dupre. 23rd, Eric Beadle. Mike Eden will start 24th. 25th belongs to Jacob Sperling. 26th, Tony Polk. Dave Holmberg rolls from the 27th position. Derek Welch, 28th. Ben McKinnon in the 15. He'll start 29th. Jarrett Woodard, 30th. 31st, Mark Collins. Justin Morrow will roll 32nd. Last but not least, it's the 55 starting 33rd, and that's Tom Barish. Your starting grid here from Michigan International Speedway as we get ready to go racing here in just a moment or so. Field still actually sitting on pit lane here, waiting to grid up. Field now rolls through turns 1 and 2. Should have enough time to get formed up 2 by 2 here. Only got a few of you in the stream chat. It looks like it's all drivers. Skylar Harrod, Zach Millett, Derek Welch, Brandon Coleman. If there's more of you out there, come say hello. We don't bite. Field pretty straggled out here into 3. Hopefully they can get things squared away. Still got a car coming out of turn 2. Usually only 1 pace lap on the bigger tracks. A lot larger field here. Maybe they'll give them another opportunity to get lined out. Still some stragglers, but looks like they're going to let it go. Pace truck hits pit lane. Barney with the green in hand.
Green flag.
First lap in the books. Caleb Sisk leads him down. Zach Millett second, Dittmer third. Albert Anderson, Jesse Sperling rounding out the top 5. 23 laps likely to be the fuel distance here. You might be able to stretch it to 25 laps. Again, this league does run a reduced fuel capacity in all of their races, trying to promote some strategy plays. Tonight's percentage, 65%. Drivers do have 2 sets of tires available to their disposal over the wall. We'll see when they take it. I would imagine that first pit stop, no one's going to change them. We got a battle for the race lead here. Zach Millett with a run out of 4. Makes a peek to the outside down into turn number 1. Caleb Sisk, and then 6 truck on the bottom. 34, Tyler Dittmer. Looked like he wanted to follow the 315, but wasn't able to do it. Millett drops down in front of the 6. Clean pass around the outside off turn number 2. Millett back to the point. Sisk now fighting for the second spot. Tyler Dittmer trying to take it away. Still to the outside, so you're right on board with the 6. Continue to fight side by side for the second position. Only 5 laps in here in Michigan. Sisk takes the bottom still. 34, Dittmer up top, and you see in the back Alfie Charon closing in. He's having a good run to start this off. 8 positions gained in these first 5 laps for the number 9 truck. Top 5 drivers all lined up together. Looks like the Blue Angels here through 3 and 4. Except they're not blue. And there are certainly no Angels. Dittmer slots down in behind the 6 of Caleb Sisk. Now Alfie up into the 4 spot, making a look to the bottom as the 34 gets held up just a touch. It's all it takes. The 0.99 of Anderson's going to take the spot away, it looks like, as well. Slight miscalculation by the 34, I believe, opens the door for Alfie Charon and Albert Anderson. Dittmer's going to slip back to P5, at least for the time being. Alfie Charon now to the back bumper of Caleb Sisk. About a half truck between the 2. These 2 have had some moments in the past couple of races. Hopefully everything remains nice and tidy between the 2 of them. Taking a look now to the inside on Caleb Sisk for the second spot. Sisk says, never mind battling. I'm going to go to the high side here, see if I can take the lead. Looked like the 9 and the 6 were going to try and split the 315, but Zach comes up the racetrack. A little bit of contact between those 2. Bit of a block there by the 315. I don't know if the 6 appreciated it or not, but either way, they both get away with it. Charon slots back in the 3rd spot in behind the number 6 machine. Stream chatters, let us know where you're watching from, who you're cheering for. It's awful quiet out there. Sisk back to the bottom alongside of Zach Millett again for the race lead. These guys have swapped it back and forth here again. The 6 now to the point off of turn 4. Millett's going to tuck in behind. Stays tucked in. Just inches off the tailgate of the number 6. Top four is still tight together here. Caleb Sisk now out in front, and it's Millett, Charon, Albert Anderson, and then Tyler Dittmer has slipped a little bit further back, about 5 truck lengths off the top four. So right on board with Caleb Sisk. Closest the 315 is, I'm pretty certain he's given the 6 a bit of a push, at least on the main stretch here. That's the thing about these guys, when you got good drivers out here in the front, you can push them. Not only in the straightaway, a little bit of the tri-oval. At least on new tires, you can get away with it. Top three can throw a blanket over all 3 of these trucks and cover them up. Down into turn number 1. Sisk still with the lead. Millett, I don't know if he's just riding right here. These guys might be in a situation where they're trying to take care of the fuel situation. Again, 23 laps, about the average. Some guys might be able to stretch it to 25, maybe even 26 laps. Yeah, Millett just is not relenting at all. Right there to the back bumper. Right on board with the 315 and see what it looks like from the driver's seat. Yep, definitely some contact. And truthfully, it's gentle contact. He's not trying to wreck the 6 by any means. Just give him a bump. I think Millett's content being, and Sisk blinks out for a minute. That certainly scares you. You saw it from his perspective. That's how it is. You trailing a race truck or a race car here in iRacing. You lose connection for a moment. That's exactly what it's like as the trailing driver. You got to be careful it doesn't land in your lap. You saw Millett lift there as soon as it happened. Meanwhile, Albert Anderson has taken the 3rd spot from Alfie Charon. Gotta wonder if the 9 burned up his stuff a bit working back through the field. Remember, he started back in the 13th spot here today. Made his way all the way up into the 2nd position. Slipped to 3rd, now has slipped to 4th. Certainly a tall order to get to the front as quickly as he did. It was about 6 laps from where he started to where he was running now. Still no stream chatters, just the 4 of you guys that are in this race, and I don't expect your typing. I know there's a couple guys out there that attempt to do that, but it's not advised and frowned upon. Don't text and drive, especially at 190 miles an hour. Zach Millett all over the back bumper of Caleb Sisk. I'm glad that Caleb is as good of a driver as he is. Because a lesser driver would likely get pretty nervous with Millett pushing that back bumper the way that he has been. Cool as a cucumber is the 6 right now. It's fun to watch these guys out here in the front. 4 trucks deep, top 4 drivers all in a row. Pit stops under the green flag will certainly change all that. as long as we make it to the green flag pit stops. Again, lap 23, 25 in that range. Might even see 26, depending on how aggressively the drivers are with fuel save. Right now, though, Caleb Sisk in a position, he's burning the most fuel out of anybody. He's the lead truck in the line. He's breaking all that air with the nose of his truck. As Anderson's making a look to the bottom here, I don't know if Millet even saw him coming. I didn't see him coming. That's my job, is to watch. He was right there. The 099 of Albert Anderson making a charge for the second spot alongside Zach Millet. He was right alongside, tucks back in behind. Maintains the third spot as Alfie Charon, teammate to Zach Millet, completing the sandwich there. Albert Anderson being the ham or salami or whatever you want to put in the middle of your bread slices. I guess that's the question we're going to ask, since I don't got any stream chatters. What's your favorite sandwich out there, guys? I'm a ham and Swiss guy, personally. I know, it's boring. Sometimes we'll switch it up and go a little roast beef and provolone. Contact with Alfie Charon and Anderson out of two. With those just slight contact, not significant at all, but man, Millet is just unrelenting. He's not stepping off the back bumper of the 6 at all unless he really has to. Again, that makes him nervous. It very well could, just given the occasional connection issues with the 6 of Caleb Sisk. Go back to race 1, guys. I'm doing a lot better with that name and that number. Better yet, just stay here. Don't go to race 1. Hard to take our eyes off this battle here at the front of the field. Sisk, Millet, Anderson, Charon off turn number 2. Behind them, Tyler Dittmer still remains in the 5th spot, but Paul Durkee's closed in. He's made up about 4 positions. Started 10th here today, running in the 6th spot. So run down the 34. May have an opportunity for a new position if it presents itself. Durkee taking a peek to the bottom. Durkee tried to slide up in front of Dittmer. Wasn't clear. Dittmer actually gave him the space. .34 of Tyler Dittmer. Very wise move, showing his abilities, showing his racecraft. He absolutely could have contested that position, kept his foot in the throttle, and not let the 13 up in front of him. Dittmer, though, knowing Durkee's a little bit faster, at least right now in this stage of the run, let him go. Not worth risking an accident, risking damage to these trucks. Dittmer's no slouch. He'll be back in this later on. Just give it some time. Back in the pack here. This is for about the 16th position. Jesse Redding, Brian Torch in the number 81 Columbia PFG machine. Chris Klein's going to hit pit lane. This seems awfully early. Maybe a short pit situation here for the 51 of Klein. Eddie Rose in the stream chat says, I'm watching that 315. Make me nervous. Eddie, I'm having trouble reading it, buddy, but I'm glad you're here either way. Eddie, you got any trivia for us? Eddie Rose is usually known for some stream chat trivia here with whether it's Numb Thumbs Racing League or otherwise. Whatever series we're broadcasting that he's not racing in, usually jumps in and has some kind of trivia for the track. Chris Klein down and away. Other pit stops underway as well. Paul Durkee, after making that pass for the 5th spot, jumps into pit lane as well. A little deep in the pit box. Does he have to back up? I think he's okay here. No, he's good. Fuel only for the 13. Again, I really would expect just about everybody up and down pit lane here to do the same. I can't see anyone taking tires. I suppose it's possible, but that is certainly not the preferred strategy with only 2 sets over the wall. Not even a third distance here. As Caleb Sisk continues to lead over Zach Millett, Alfie Charon, Albert Anderson, Tyler Dittmer. Chris Klein's going to be down a lap here after his pit stop. But again, green flag cycled here. Everybody gets through it. That should cycle back around. I think Caleb's making his run here to pit lane here in just a moment. He seems a little off the pace, and there you have it. Pulls down, so does both HBR TV trucks, Millett and Charon. Millett locks up the rears a bit, has to chase the race truck into pit lane without wrecking it. Likely got her woed down to pit road speed. Caleb Sisk, his first pit stop of the day, coming at the end of lap 24. Oh, and he overshoots the pit box, goes deep, a very rare mistake by Caleb Sisk. That's going to hurt him. Millett in behind, also fuel only. We'll see if this is going to make the difference here for who's got the lead. Millett almost stalls it on exit, but he's going to leave pit road first, and I think, yeah, Sisk is going to lose a couple of spots here. Both HBR TV trucks are going to get out ahead of the 6 with that untimely mistake. Caleb Sisk slipping through the pit box just a little bit further than he had planned. Doesn't take much, especially during green flag conditions. These guys are running 190 miles an hour in some cases. That's roughly the equivalent of a football field on the racetrack, covered every second. So end zone to end zone every time you go 1/1000. So that quick mistake cost Caleb Sisk. His pit stop was 11.97 seconds. It was an identical stop to Millett, but remember, Caleb had to go a little bit further down pit lane before he got to his box, so that's why that difference was what it was. Alfie Charon was at 12:12, so really the pit stops weren't all that different, even with the mistake. The biggest place you see the difference, though, is the total pit lane time. Millett's pit lane time of 41:40. Alfie Charon of 41:45. You can tell they've been practicing together. And Caleb Sisk, with his untimely mistake, was a 43:05. So that's really where the time was lost. As Caleb loses a spot now to Albert Anderson as well. So Caleb now back to P4. Millett with about a 1.5 second advantage over the 9 of Alfie Charon, and Albert Anderson shot out of a cannon here. He's alongside number 9 truck. It doesn't take long, a whale of a run out of turn 2. I don't know if Alfie's saving fuel as well, but Anderson went by Charon like he was tied to a tree. And with that said, looking at the pit stop time, just looking at that for many of these drivers at the front of the field, but it does appear that Albert Anderson did take a set of tires on his first stop. If we go green all the way, it shouldn't really matter because everybody has the same sets of tires available to them over the wall. If we start getting into some caution flags, which we have yet to see, knock on wood, Anderson goes to the point here, takes the lead away from Millett. Lap 28, going to be 29 here in a moment. That tire strategy could change, again, with the caution flag, if we get it. Place like Michigan Speedway, you get spread out. There's that likelihood you could run this race green to checkered without a yellow. Albert Anderson very quickly gets to the race lead, puts some distance, a full second plus on Zach Millett. Again, don't let it fool you. Anderson's quick, but he does have fresher tires, and it appears that he's the only driver up and down pit road to take 4 tires. Mike Adamson might have. His time was a 14:60. That's a lightning fast stop if he did take 4 tires, but it's certainly doable. Scott Milner was a 14:93. He may have taken a set, but up and down pit lane, it looks like only 3 drivers opting to take a set of tires on that first pit stop. We'll see how that pans out come the end of this race here in about 60 laps or so. So with that, we are 1/3 distance here from Michigan Speedway. We're going to take an HBR TV side-by-side break. Stay with us. You won't miss a moment of the action. We'll be right back.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
I met Mark.
Back at Michigan Speedway, 36 laps in. Albert Anderson still your race leader over Zach Millett, Caleb Sisk, Alfie Charon, Tyler Dittmer. Millett back 7.5 seconds, a huge gap back to the 315. But again, got to keep in mind, Albert Anderson out there on fresh tires, where just about everybody behind them, with the exception of maybe Mike Adamson and maybe one other driver, Scott Milner, taking tires on that first pit stop. That just means that one of these stops they're going to have to go without. Only 2 sets over the wall. So you got to be strategic about that play. When do you do it? Eddie Rose in the stream chat asking, what year did NASCAR drivers strike? They didn't want to drive the track. Well, first off, and I could be wrong because I'm not really a historian per se, but I thought that was not this track. I thought that was actually at Talladega, not Michigan Speedway, but it's still a valid question as far as what year was it that this quote-unquote strike or refusal to race occurred. I think I know the answer, but I'm not going to go with it for a minute. We'll let everybody else out there in Streamland figure that one out. Anderson awful lonely out there at the front of the field. Millett kind of the same there in the second spot. Really nobody out the front windshield, and Caleb Sisk a ways back, just getting out of turn 4. Sisk and Sharon somewhat close together here, maybe 6-8 truck lengths between the two. Chris Klein running back in P6. It's the only real action on the track, at least for the time being. Oh, some contact with Klein, and Tyler Dittmer got the 34 all crossed up. Down into turn 3 now. Klein's going to jump to the bottom here and say, yeah, I don't want to keep doing that. Dittmer up the racetrack. Not sure what the situation there is with the 34. Again, he took fuel only on his pit stop, so the pace just isn't there. But looking at the drivers that are making passes on him, Chris Klein being one of them, he didn't take tires either. Mike Adamson, though, the number 89 truck, with what looks to be a Kyle Larson Valvoline scheme. He does have fresher tires, though. That was back from lap 24. We're in lap 40 now, so we've got some laps and some distance on these tires. They're going to start to equal out. You got the drivers like Millett, Sisk, Sharon, Chris Klein, them guys haven't changed tires this race at all. But Mike Adamson, who does have fresh rubber by comparison. Okay, so we say that, talk about tires equalizing. Maybe it's been 15 laps or so since those pit stops, but the lap times start to become somewhat similar from the oldest tires to the newer tires over the course of the run. So just by example, again, the race leader is Albert Anderson. He did have fresh tires on his pit stop. His last lap was a 41.65. Okay, Zach Millett, who hasn't changed his tires at all this race, just ran a 41.93. Yes, it's slower, but not by a real wide margin. Now, Anderson now crossing the stripe, he just runs a 41.70. So you see those lap times kind of get equal over the course of the very long run. That's why that first pit stop, a lot of guys opted to not change tires, go fuel only. So you know what? I'm going to save a set in pit lane here, so my final 2 pit stops are with tires. Mike Adamson up into P5 now. Chris Klein back to the 6th spot. Again, Adamson showing his strength with new tires as well. A 41.72 his last lap. Adamson actually the fastest truck within the top 5. So just a couple of laps shy of halfway. And about 5 laps or so shy of seeing some more green flag stops. Again, no cautions to speak of to this point. Again, knock on wood, we knocked this thing out here without a yellow. Okay, maybe we can have 1 yellow. Get these guys bunched back up. Give it a go. Paul Durkee in a battle here with the 5 of Hunter Parsons. Haven't heard a whole lot from Hunter this race. He's usually awfully fast. Still having a strong run. He started towards the back of the field. He's gained 12 positions. Cole Henriksen, the 101 truck, started 18th. He's back, bookending the top 10. And some drivers hitting pit lane here. Tyler Dittmer leading the charge of trucks to hit the pit road here, lap 45, just past halfway. Again, 23 laps we've seen as few as that. 25 seem to be, okay, we're saving fuel. I think just about everybody else made it 24 laps on that previous stop, but I don't know how aggressive drivers were being with that fuel save. Later on in this run on very worn tires, you might see some guys stretching a lap. Dittmer with some right side damage. He's going to change tires this time. I don't believe he did the previous pit stop, so look for the 34 to be quick here on this run with one more set remaining over the wall, but probably 2 pit stops to come. So Eddie Rose, I'm going to give you an answer to this trivia question you threw up here. I'm going to guess that it was Talladega in either, I'm going to give you 2 answers because I'm that kind of guy. It's either going to be 69 or 72 was the driver's quote-unquote strike. They weren't really unionized, but they, I guess you'd call it a boycott more than anything. They decided they weren't going to race, that speeds were too fast at Talladega, and the sanctioning body actually allowed what's today is, I believe, the Xfinity Series cars to race with the Grand National cars, so they had a full field, and I believe Richard Childress actually ran that. Eddie, you got to give us the answers to the first question before you can add new questions. We'll get to that in a minute as Albert Anderson pulls down from the race lead, lap 47 for his pit stop. So looks like Anderson, being out front all by his lonesome, went 23 laps on this round of fuel. Sisk also down pit lane. Millett stays on the racetrack. We talked to Zach Millett off air prior to the broadcast, and he says it was going to be difficult to save fuel in a place like Michigan in the truck. The truck is so big, punches such a big hole in the air, and it doesn't have a significant amount of horsepower, so you're pretty much wide open a lot of the lap. So it's hard to find a point where, okay, I'm going to lift a little earlier here into this corner, I'm going to coast into the apex, and then I'll get slowly on the throttle to exit. A place like Michigan, it's hard to do that. It's not impossible, but you're certainly not doing it early on. Millett, Charon, Adamson down pit lane as well. Eddie Rose giving me the date. It was 1969. I think that's the first question. I'll say I was half right because I gave 2 answers. But the second question is, who was the first NASCAR driver to win at Michigan? Eddie, are you referring to Cup Series or just NASCAR in general? Obviously, anybody can Google this, but Millett down and away, 14.62 seconds. A really fast stop for the 315. Alfie Charon also down and away, 15.87. A little slow on the tire change for Alfie Charon. Caleb Sisk is going to pass Alfie on the racetrack here. Derek Welch, talk about guys saving fuel. He's really stretched it. His pit stop was at lap 24. Just crosses the line here at lap 50. Stays out on the racetrack, trying to go that extra mile. This would get him to make this a 2-stop race. Now, yeah, definitely a 2-stop race for certain. Only 40 laps to go. He could split it up into 2 20-lap segments if he wanted. So Derek's going to pull down here from turn 4. Take the depth graphics, Numb Thumbs Gaming Toyota Tundra TRD Pro into the attention of his pit crew. Expect to see 4 tires and fuel on the 1. Truck goes up on the jacks. Dump the clutch and go. 14.93 for Welch. A good stop, not a great year. So as far as lead lap cars are concerned, lead lap trucks that is, everyone has completed their pit stops to this point. 51 laps in here. Albert Anderson back to the front. He's cycled on through. Zach Millett still in the second spot, but man, 8.6 seconds back. Now, interestingly enough, Anderson, second pit stop, 14.82 was the time. I didn't see any issues on that stop, so I'm going to say he took tires again. So his last 2 pit stops are going to be fuel only for the 0.99 of Albert Anderson, unless I'm missing something, which entirely possible with my ADHD, but if I'm not missing anything, I think he's out of tires. Just double checked and confirmed, only 2 sets available over the wall, so Albert Anderson is going to have to make those Goodyear Racing Eagles last quite a ways. All right, Eddie, no one answered in the stream chat on who won the first race at Michigan. What do you got? One truck in the wall off of turn number 2. Looks like we missed a little bit of chaos here. The 18 certainly been into something, whether it was a safer barrier or another truck. Justin Lawson slow down into turn 3. Does he stay on the racetrack? He's all the way down to the apron. Might be coming to pit lane here. Eddie Rose giving us the answer to the first winner at Michigan. It was Cal Yarborough. Lawson trying to get a road down here. The attention of his crew. Now the Numb Thumbs Racing League in the truck side of things, they do offer a 1 fast repair for these races. We'll see if Lawson takes advantage of it right now. And it looks like he does not. Not sure the situation there on the 18 of Justin Lawson, but he is parked now in his pit box, having to get the repairs done the slow way. I don't know that maybe he burned a fast repair early on, or if he's just really trying to take care of it and save it for later, but he's losing a ton of time on the racetrack right now. Good rule of thumb is if the green is out and you got repairs to make, that's when you use that fast repair. You can risk it under caution. There and fix it for 25-30 seconds, get back out, and then make a decision from there. But if you've got required repairs, sanctioning body will not let you back on the racetrack until they're completed. So some of these drivers that weren't able to go quite as long as we had thought they were going to be able to, they could be in trouble here. Remember, Albert Anderson got about 23 laps on his last stop. Well, he's not in trouble. I'm just doing the math here, looking at this, and if Anderson gets the same fuel mileage that he did on the previous run, he's going to have to come down at about lap 70. But he should be good to go from there. But that final stop is going to be without tires. It's going to be a shorter stop, but he's going to sacrifice some time on the racetrack because the last stop of the day for a lot of these drivers will include tires. Guys like Brandon Coleman, however, he could be in trouble later on. His pit stop coming at lap 43. Without a caution, it's going to be real tight for fuel. A big wiggle for the 19 off of turn 2. Broadcaster's curse. Start talking about the guy, and he almost wads it up and throws it in the can. Either way, Coleman making his fuel stop at lap 43. If he goes 23, even 24 laps, he's still going to be a lap or two short, unless he can find a way to save some fuel. Now, with the field stretched out the way that it is, drafting not coming into play as to how it was previously when we still had drivers all packed up together. So that certainly throws a curveball into the mix. Mark Collins came down at lap 41. He's going to be in trouble as well if he doesn't get a caution here. And some of these other guys pit at lap 44. It could be tight. Tyler Dittmer being one of them, then Hunter Parsons was another. Cole Henriksen, Paul Durkee, all making their pit stops at lap 44. That would mean they need to make another stop here at lap 67. It would be tight. It puts them a 23-lap run to the finish, which is right within that window. 60 laps in, Albert Anderson still leads. We're going to go to another HBR TV side-by-side break. Folks, stay with us. You won't miss a minute of the action. We'll be right back.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Michigan Speedway. Lap 65 up on the board. Going to be 66, 25 to go. Watching the timing tower here, Zach Millett's closing the gap here. He's cut it in half to about 4 1/4 seconds, and also ran the fastest lap of the day here just recently. At least fastest lap of the run, fastest truck on the racetrack, was about a 41.25, almost a full second slower than the fastest lap of the race. Albert Anderson, one of those fast times. Caleb Sisk with a 40.16. A 40 flat for Alfie Charon. He seems to be the fastest truck on the Speedway overall, at least for now. With that said, though, one more pit stop still remaining. Couple more laps. Everybody can make their pit stop and be good to go to the end, barring any kind of green-white checkered situations. No NASCAR overtime here yet, but it is certainly a possibility. But, as we've said, no cautions to speak of yet. 24 laps to go of this 90-lap event, 180 miles the race distance tonight. Drivers have been minding their P's and Q's quite a while. Usually this race, in many cases, it plays out like a super speedway with these trucks. Again, the drag that they produce, the draft that you can produce with a bunch of trucks packed up together, it's usually a very exciting race. But this one has played out very differently, even with the larger field. No cautions to speak of, certainly short fuel runs, 23 to 25 laps, and only 2 sets of tires to speak of, and they do matter. You'll see that here when Anderson makes his final stop versus Millett making his final stop. Millett's going to have a set of tires to bolt on, where Anderson, I'm pretty sure, has used all his up. Early pit stops underway here just as the fuel window opens. Paul Durkee, Brandon Coleman, 2 teammates, coming down pit lane. Durkee in the box. He's going to take his final set of tires. Wright's bolted on. Crew around to the left side. Sunoco race fuel going in. Coleman down and away. Durkee doing 4 tires as well. Hunter Parsons, Tyler Dittmer off of 4. Trying to get her woed up. Parsons was very aggressive on pit entry. Parsons with the fancy pit crew outfits. Parsons down and away. 14.82 seconds, a good stop. Caleb Sisk down pit lane here from the 3rd spot. 21 laps to go. Certainly plenty of time left for the 6. Again, we got to worry about a green-white checkered situation here, but I think Caleb's going to have enough fuel for at least one of those attempts, given that we're a couple of laps into that fuel window of 23 to 24 laps. Locks it up. No mistakes this time. Doesn't drive through the pit box. Four tires and fuel for Caleb Sisk. Well, Anderson remains the race leader, but Zach Millett continuing to run him down. Anderson just taking a spot or lapping the 119 of Eric Beadle. But not far in the tire tracks is the 315 of Zach Millett off turn number 2. Still expect to see some pit stops here very soon for the 315 and the 9. HBR TV teammates likely in communication. We'll see if they pit together. Meanwhile, PJ Cox making his final stop. Certainly a hard decision to come down pit road, but you got to make it. Big problem for PJ. Has to back it up. Meanwhile, Zach Millett, Albert Anderson, Alfie Charon all in the pits. Jeff Ottinger, final stops of the day. It's going to be 4 tires and fuel for Millett. He may come out of here as the race leader, though. A short stop for Anderson at 11.8 seconds, fuel only. Derek Welch stays on the track again. able to save much more fuel again. Kind of expected that. Millett's back out there. It's Welch, Chipman Jr., Anderson, Millett, Sisk, the top 5. And pit stops still need to finish cycling on through. Welch needs to pit. Chipman needs to pit. So Rob Chipman Jr. from the 2nd position. He'll hit pit lane here now with 18 laps to go. Welch has stayed out. He still needs to make his final stop, but Albert Anderson runs in the 2nd position, still only 8 seconds back from the 1. Anderson's going to need to go. Well, he doesn't need to make any more pit stops as Chipman's having all sorts of trouble here in pit lane here. Overshoots the box, too close to the pit wall, has to back it up, angle it back out. That's going to cost the 58 a lot of time in pit road. Russ Kilgore takes the Miller Genuine Draft Ford down pit lane. Derek Welch still out on the racetrack. Last stop was at lap 50. Now, caution flag would help the 1 here. It wouldn't be significant, but it would be helpful. He'd probably end up being in about the 15th or 16th position if he made his pit stop under yellow, whereas if he pits now, which he's going to have to do, and actually here he comes, so he's going to lose a lap for sure. Millett takes over the 2nd spot, and he's going to take over the race lead here and has to thread the needle a bit through Adamson in the slow truck, the number 63. Dave Holmberg, a lap truck. Making Millett work for it for sure as Adamson slips back as well. Adamson now a lap down. Remember, he was up a contender there early on as well. So Zach Millett back out front with 16 coming to 15 laps to go. Welch, a very quick pit stop, 14.85 seconds, and he's going to have fresh tires as well. We'll see if he can work his way through the field. Honestly, I think Derek may have completed his stop in a timely fashion enough to stay on the lead lap. Keep an eye on that. Welch down into turn 3. Yeah, stays out ahead of the leaders, and he's got fresh tires, so he should be able to stay out in front of Millett here. Welch with 3 laps newer tires compared to the 315. 14 laps remaining. It's Millett, Anderson, Sisk, Parsons, Henriksen. Got a shout out to Hunter Parsons here. He's up 17 spots and looking for more. Big gaggle of trucks here, 3 wide. Alfred Sharon on the bottom. He's trying to make up some spots from P6. Right there with Henriksen and Hunter Parsons. Chris Klein in behind. Paul Turkey, Tyler Detmer. Meanwhile, Caleb Sisk has passed Anderson for position. Again, not contested really by the 099 as he is on older tires. Sharon going to look to the outside on the 5 of Parsons through the tri-oval. Working to the outside. Cole Henriksen in behind. Parsons drops it all the way down to the yellow line. Sharon stays up the racetrack. He'll have a run out of turn number 2 and carry that all the way down the straightaway. Parsons slots right in behind Sharon and in between Henriksen. That was about as close as it can get. Henriksen back to the bottom. Sharon takes over the 4th spot. Going to try and set sail here and pick up a top 3 if he can. He's got to reel in the 099. Albert Anderson. Again, remember, Anderson on older tires. Charon taking his final set of tires on this most recent stop, so he's going to have the pace for certain. It's just a matter of having enough time to get there and make the pass. Still watching the battle, Henriksen and Parsons. Henriksen started to lose the back of the truck, had to lift a bit. Give Parsons a spot, and maybe even Chris Klein, as Klein threads the needle as well, goes to the bottom on the 5 here, slides up the racetrack. They might make some contact here, but they're door-to-door through 3 and 4. Back to the stripe, the battle continues. This all happening for the 5th position between Hunter Parsons and Chris Klein. Parsons up top in the number 5 Toyota. Klein in the bottom, the red and white Beaver Toyota. '31 is Scott Milner up the racetrack. Might have gotten the fence there just a bit. If not, it was very close. Albert Anderson still running in the 3rd spot. Alfie Charon just a couple of seconds back, if that. 1 3/4 seconds to be specific. So the battle behind the 9 continues. Alfie's just got to continue to run these laps. He's got 10 more to go. 20 miles before he can try and reel in and pass the 0.99 of Albert Anderson. Parsons not willing to give up that 5th spot to Cole Henriksen. Just like that, Alfie Charon is there and goes to the bottom. Albert Anderson's going to slip back to the 4th spot. Charon up into the P3. Alfie wanted to try and make it 2 in a row. I don't think it's going to happen this week, but he's going to be on the podium. Oh, the caution's out, though. Jesse Sperling in trouble. Might have been trying to get to pit lane. I'm not 100% certain. We'll go back and take a look at it, but man, this is going to change a lot. Who has a set of tires left in pit lane? Does anybody have a set left in pit lane? Tell you, the driver that does, if anybody, is going to have a pretty good advantage here as we go back green flag racing. However, we only have 8 to go now. It might be 4, it might be 3 to go when we get back green flag racing. We'll have to see. But with that, let's get a look what happened here to the 29 of Sperling. Out of turn number 4, catching it a little bit late here. I'm going to back it up. Sperling just loses it. You saw him trying to save it. He got a little too high up out of the groove, gets into the dirty stuff. Derek Welch was in it as well, but Welch kept it straight. Let's go on board with 21 of Jesse Redding, if I can find the camera. There it is. And let's see what it looked like from his perspective as we ride on board. I'm actually surprised that iRacing threw the yellow for that, because he got down and out of the way awfully quick, but is what it is. Thought we were going to go caution-free, but we're going to set up a shootout of a finish here at Michigan between Zach Millett, Caleb Sisk, Alfie Charon, Albert Anderson, Hunter Parsons. Hunter Parsons making his pit stop at lap 68, right to the edge of his fuel window. Again, if this turns into cautions breeding cautions, which very often we do see that's the case, some of those guys with earlier pit stops on that final round of stops could be in trouble. Even Caleb Sisk, his pit stop coming at lap 69. These caution laps do help, but if we start doing green-white checkers, that adds laps to the race. Davidson Builders Truck Series does have an allotment of 2 attempts at NASCAR overtime. we're not there yet, but I think Millet is saving. Yeah, Millet's saving fuel right now. He's probably good to the end regardless, but I think he's planning ahead in case there is a green-white checker. He doesn't have to dive down pit road, at least the first time. So 6 laps to go from Michigan Speedway, getting set up here for a shootout style finish here at Michigan. We're going to jump out and get a short break out of the way before we go back to green flag racing. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. Back at Michigan Speedway, wrapping up caution number 1 and coming to 5 laps to go. 5-lap shootout to settle it. Pace truck's going to take the hard left down pit lane. We're going to try and settle race number 6. Field gets a little jacked up here in the back of the pack. Drivers trying to swerve to avoid running into each other. Green flag in the air. Millet with a good jump over the 6. With a good jump down into turns 1 and 2. All over the back bumper is Zach Millet off turn number 2. Is there going to be any rubbing fenders here? Down the back stretch. 4.5 laps to go. Sisk looking up high, trying to find a way around the 315. Remember, Millet has a couple of laps newer tires than the 6, but it's not a whole lot for a driver like Caleb Sisk. But he's got a mirror full of Alfie Sharon at the same time. 4 laps to go for Michigan. Oh, big wiggle for the 6 out of turn number 2. Opens the door for Alfie Sharon to the high side. Zach Millet's got to be loving this. Let those drivers fight it out behind me so I don't have to worry about fighting them off. Sharon to the top, Sisk to the bottom. Parsons is starting to close this gap as well. A little bit of contact, gets into the 6 off turn number 4. Parsons is there to the outside for the 3rd position. 3 laps to go from Michigan. 6 more miles. Door handle to door handle for the 3rd spot. Parsons up high in the 5. The 6 of Caleb Sisk tucks in behind. Moves Sisk back to P4.
Caution.
And the caution comes out before they can get back to the line. Rob Chipman Jr. in trouble.
Get a deep breath.
And here we have it. We're set up now for a green-white checkered finish from Michigan Speedway as Chipman goes around as Sisk was dropping back some positions here. See if he can remedy that situation and get some of those back. Let's take a look what happened to the 58, put us under caution number 2. We'll back that one up here a little bit and get a better angle on it, probably from the blimp. Looks like Albert Anderson and Chipman come together off turn number 2. They were 3 wide. I think that's Russ Kilgore on the bottom. Now, I can't tell if Chipman didn't realize that he had a car to the truck to the outside, or if Anderson came down. I think Chipman just might not have realized there wasn't room. Going to back it up further once again. I want to get the onboard of the 58. Full speed. Yeah, it looks like Chipman didn't realize it was there or had a correction. Either way, he drives into the 099. Puts us under caution for the second time today. Clean and green all the way to the last 10 laps here. We've had a couple of cautions in that time frame. Albert Anderson in the pits here. Looks like he's going to try and get some repairs made, maybe burn the fast repair. No fast repair for Albert Anderson here, but it looks like he's going to top off the fuel. Make darn sure he's got enough for multiple green-white checkers, because the way this is shaping up, certainly not how the majority of this race has been run. Very clean. So the restart we're going to get here, it's going to be Zach Millett and Alfie Charon on the front row. And with that, we're going to jump out and get one more break out of the way. Since we haven't had any cautions, this is our opportunity to have them. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back with a restart here after this. Stay with us. Back at Michigan International Speedway, finishing up caution number 2 and getting set for our first of 2 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. We're officially past the scheduled distance of 90 laps. Coming to lap 91 here as the pace truck hits pit lane. Green, white, and checkered finish about to unfold. Both HBR TV trucks leading the pack to the green flag. Millett in the throttle, so is Charon, so is Hunter Parsons. A good restart for the 5, not so much for the 9 of Charon as they barrel down into turn number 1. Millett, a couple of truck lengths out in front. Sisk is going to battle back on the bottom. He's got the spot from Alfie Charon for the time being, and he's trying to pick it up from the 5 of Parsons. Charon kind of barreled in there by himself, nowhere to go. Field working down the backstretch so far, clean and green. Parsons taking a look to the inside on Zach Millett for the race lead. Millett slides up the racetrack a couple of lanes. Charon does the same, but more than just a couple. Almost into the wall, dives into the bottom. Parsons throws the block. Coming to the white flag. Final lap from Michigan. Millett with the lead. Can he hold it for one more lap? Parsons once again looking to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to take the race lead and the win away, but he goes across the nose of Alfie Sharon, slides up the racetrack and gets into the outside wall. Meanwhile, Millett driving away from the field. Parsons trying to go back somewhere. He's going to land outside the top 10, it looks like. Millett back into 3 and 4. Sharon in the second spot. Caleb Sisk running third, Klein fourth, Torch is fifth. On to turn number 4 for the final time. Zach Millett didn't get the pole, but he's going to win the race. Takes the checkered flag from Michigan. It's an HBR TV 1 and 2 with Alfie Sharon finishing in the second spot. Caleb Sisk finishing third, Chris Klein fourth, and Brian Torsha coming home in P5. Keep an eye on Parsons here. I don't think he's going to be happy. Nope. Certainly going to be a conversation post-race for this one. Two HBR TV team trucks finishing 1 and 2. Millett celebrating here on the front stretch. Celebration continues here on the front stretch at Michigan Speedway. We're going to jump out and get our final break out of the way and be back with our top 3 finishers in the broadcast booth after this. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in.
Back at Michigan Speedway, Zach Millett victorious here, race number 6 at Michigan Speedway. Try and pull the driver of that 315, that S4 guy, HBR TV Silverado into the broadcast booth and get a word with our race winner. Zach Millett, it's Steve with HBR TV. You with us?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up is another race win for the 315 here in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Zach, tell us how you did it. I know the midsection of this race, Albert Anderson had a completely different strategy, burning his tire sets up early on. You saved a set on that first pit stop, didn't change the tires at all, and made sure you saved a set here for the end. But was that the strategy coming into tonight? Was that the plan, or was there an audible called there late?
No, that was the plan the whole time. I wanted to go that first stint and not take tires. And I mean, ironically, we really didn't put the practice in for not taking tires. So I didn't know how bad they were going to be. I didn't know how hard to push. So we kind of saved it. We were running behind Josh there the first portion of the race, which we all kind of talked about is what we wanted to do and see if we could pull away and, you know, stay away from chaos. But when we finally did take tires that second pit stop, my right rear was down to 27%. So it was a little closer to disaster than I anticipated, but the truck still felt really good. Felt even on old tires, we were still keeping the pace.
Well, with that said, we had a very clean race, no cautions to speak of to the last final 10 laps. We end up getting a couple of them there late, including a green-white checkered finish to give us some NASCAR overtime. How was it from your perspective, whether it was looking out the right side door or the rear view mirror on those final couple of restarts?
Oh, I tell you, I saw that caution coming out, and it was in my head. I'm like, it's a single car, don't throw it. And then it went, so I was crushed. But yeah, the restarts, man, they were something. It was hard to put the traction down. I kind of had to keep it in second gear and just kind of hope it didn't turn sideways on you. But no, everybody out front was real clean. Everybody kind of was getting the gist of that high line being pretty dominant. So yeah, I was thankful for clean drivers in this league, and it's fun racing, man. I love it.
Certainly, you've got a couple of guys out here that can contend with you. We're really looking forward to see that battle shape up as the season continues on, be it teammate Alfie Charon or even Caleb Sisk. Hunter Parsons was there certainly in the mix as well. It's going to be a fun rest of the season. And speaking of the rest of the season, next week, Charlotte Motor Speedway, NASCAR's home. Definitely a very different racetrack comparative to Michigan Speedway. It's going to be a fast racetrack, but how do you feel about your odds next week to go 2 in a row?
Well, good news, bad news. Good news is I love Charlotte, but the bad news is I think everybody loves Charlotte. It's just one of those tracks that it seems like everybody's good at, and it kind of comes down to saving tire. We learned a little bit about, you know, trucks at Charlotte from last year's No Bull series. So we'll watch some replay, we'll put some laps in, and HBR guys will hopefully get a 1-2 out of it.
Well, Zach, again, congratulations on the race win here at Michigan. It was Charon last week. It's Millett this week. Who do you want to shout out to before we let you get going?
I got to thank you, Steve, HBR TV, HBRTV1.com, HBRShops.com. I got to thank Numb Gaming, the NTRL, DW, all the admins. They really keep this league going straight. It's awesome. Great to be a part of it. Martin Sports, Track Bar Media, Eric Dobbin State Farm, Castle, Pax Power, Davidson Builders being the title sponsor, and shoot me a follow over on Twitch and YouTube at that S4 guy.
Zach, thanks for talking to us, man. Good luck next week.
Thanks, brother.
Zach Millett, your race winner here from Michigan. We're going to talk to teammate Alfie Charon, the number 9 machine, next. Pull the former HBR associate, now HBR driver, into the broadcast booth. Alfie Charon, it's Steve with HBR TV. You got me?
How's it going, Steve?
It's going well, sir. Congratulations. Another podium finish. I know it's a word that's kind of frowned upon here in the stock car or stock truck world, but a top 3 finish nonetheless. A runner-up to speak of. Qualifying wasn't so great to the driver of the number 9, but why don't you walk us through what happened there in the qualifying session, starting in the 13th spot, but still able to very quickly fight your way through the field into that second position and wrapping up a runner-up finish here at Michigan.
Yeah, qualifying in Michigan's definitely not my strong suit, as we can tell. Put me on any other track but long tracks like this, and I can qualify in the top 5 easily. But just drove through the field and tried getting up to my teammate Zach so we could try to pull away. And top 5 pulled away to a pretty decent lead. And of course, on pit stops, you know, Zach is one of the best to get to pit road, so you got to try to keep up with him on pit road, and that's just a never-ending learning battle that I'm trying to get better at.
Well, I've seen a lot of improvement out of the driver of the number 9 as the season has progressed. I know working with Zach Millett certainly a big help in that respect. Alfie is a driver that most HBR TVers may not even know was in a league, one of the very first leagues that I ever broadcasted for outside of Superior Class Auto Racing. Alfie was quick then, but he is significantly quicker now. And Alfie, I can really see that you've put a lot of work into this, man. So congratulations, a well-earned second-place finish. Again, obviously a nice job winning last week. We roll into Charlotte next week. Obviously a very different style racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Still fast, a little bit higher bank, shorter racetrack. You got the flat dog leg there on the front stretch. How do you feel about your odds next week?
To be honest, I'm going to try to aim for a podium finish again. Charlotte's not one of my strongest tracks in the trucks, but we're gonna give it our best and see what can happen.
That's all you can ask for. Again, Alfie, congratulations on a runner-up. Who do you want to thank before we let you go?
I got to thank you for broadcasting this, obviously, because all the people get to watch me and Zach and the HBR team put on a clinic most of the time. Got to thank Derek for putting on such an awesome league and letting us race with a bunch of respectful guys. I know you said earlier it was a caution-free race for a little bit, and then obviously cautions start to breed cautions, and we've seen that. Got to thank Eric Dotson from State Farm, Crack Bar Media, that S4 guy. You can check him out over on Twitch. Numb Thumbs, Castle Packs Power, Black Diamond Gaming, and check out all of Steve's work on HBRTV1.com.
Now, with all that said, Alfie, I know I let you get your thanks out of the way here, but I wouldn't be a good broadcaster if I didn't ask about the contact with the 5 of Hunter Parsons there on that green-white checkered. He definitely showed his displeasure post-race. Why don't you walk us through, at least from your perspective, how it looked out the front windshield of that HBR TV Chevrolet?
Yeah, thanks for letting me get my thanks out of the way, and I'm more than happy to go over it with you. So, my perspective, we're coming to the white flag. We're going into 1. He dives it into the bottom to try to get underneath Zach, and it didn't stick for him. He got a little bit loose and started pushing up. And I was already committed to making that pass on the outside coming off of 2, and he just slid up my nose, and it was either me break and lose 15 spots or honestly just try to keep my momentum forward, and I chose to keep my momentum forward.
Green-white checkered type finish. I don't know a whole lot of guys out there that are going to lift in your shoes. And honestly, I don't think Hunter Parsons would either in that situation, and that's probably how that even developed. I know he's probably not very happy about it, but last couple of laps for the top 5 positions, man, it is what it is.
Exactly, and if it makes anybody feel better, his teammate is Joshua Sisk, who you're going to be talking to next. He actually told me that I didn't do anything wrong, and he's seen Hunter throw 2 blocks on me coming down to the last couple laps, so he kind of said Hunter did it to himself, which I'm not going to agree, I'm not going to disagree, but, you know, I'm just going to say it's racing on the last lap.
You know, and not to drag this interview out any longer than we have to, but as far as blocking goes, I'm all for it. I mean, it is what it is. You're going to try and maintain that spot, again, especially during a green-white checkered style finish. I'm not going to blame the 5 for trying to throw blocks left and right. You got to do what you got to do. I think you would probably do the same, and it is what it is. However, with all that said, if you're going to block, you do run that risk of getting turned, whether it's you or anybody else. But I don't know, nonetheless, it was a great finish. Fun to watch. Again, Alfie, thanks for talking to us, man, and we wish you the best of luck next week at Charlotte.
Thank you, Steve. Have a good night, buddy.
Alfie Charon, your runner-up here at Michigan. And without further ado, let's bring the driver of the number 6 Skunk Works Toyota into the broadcast booth. It's Caleb Sisk. Caleb, it's Steve with HBR TV. You got us?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good, Caleb. Congratulations, man. A third-place finish. That second to last restart. Let's walk through that one real quick. It seemed like you had something for Millet there, and then all of a sudden went to hell in a handbasket. You were backed into the 5th position. Lucky enough, caution comes out. You're able to give it another crack at it. But why don't you walk us through it from your perspective, how it looked out the front windshield, what happened on the second to last restart, and how you were able to recover into a top 3 finish.
Yeah, Steve. I just thought that I could drive it into 3 pretty deep. Zach kind of blocked me out of 2, so we both had a lot of speed down the backstretch. I pushed him down the backstretch, and I was hoping to just drive it in a little deep and stay on his right rear quarter. And I honestly just missed the turn in a little bit. And when you're driving in deep and you miss the turn in, you just smoke the right front, and the problems compounded from there. So I had no speed. Alfie's now on my rear deck lid. I get a little loose out of 2, decide to let Alfie go, and then now all of a sudden Hunter's going. I mean, you're right. It went to hell in a handbasket real quick, but we had a really fast truck. We definitely had the most short run speed. We set on the pole for a reason, and that kind of showed on the second restart. We made some good moves, got back into position, pushed Alfie, had a good run into 1 and 2. I'm not sure why Hunter got loose on a restart right there, but he did, and just stayed on the bottom, had a good run, and thankful to climb back to the podium, keep that streak going. 6 races, so we got 6 podiums. We'll just keep it riding for now.
6 races, 6 podiums for the 6.
Oh, I like that.
I don't know if I like that, to be honest. I mean, it's my campsite number at the Glen, but I still don't know if I like it.
It was a fun race. I hope it was entertaining there toward the end, because, man, it was some fuel-saving, tire-saving strategy for the first, what felt like forever.
I wanted to ask about that, and I talked to Zach Millett pre-race about how you save fuel at this place, and he really didn't have an answer for it. Can you really save here? I know you're wide open a lot of the lap. In my opinion, at least, I felt that the only time you were able to really lift and coast, quote-unquote, was late in the run on old tires. But what was it on your end? Were you able to really save?
Oh, yes, sir. I was 80% throttled through the corner early in that run on the first run, saving, trying to stretch it to 24, which we did. And I just kind of used Zach to push me down the straightaway. So I would give up some momentum in the corner, save a little tire, save a little fuel, let him push me down the straightaway and regain. So kind of a 2-for-1 special. I mean, he could have pulled out and passed me at any point, and I would have had to race harder, but it worked out. I made a couple mistakes tonight. So instead of making mistakes in qualifying, I made them during the race. But we had a fast truck. Hopefully we had some good TV time, and I'm pretty pumped about a podium, to be honest.
Well, a guy like Caleb Sisk here making mistakes, and he still comes home with the top 3, 6 top 3s, that be said. Next week is Charlotte Motor Speedway, certainly a racetrack that with light fuel and a couple sets of tires, going to be a place that you can very easily save some fuel. But how do you feel about your shot next week to finally knock some of them HBR TV trucks off the top 2?
I feel pretty good. Charlotte's a really fun racetrack. It's really, really racy. You can move the air there pretty easily, so track position will be king. So hopefully we can start out front and set a pretty fast pace and kind of control the race. And if not, hopefully we can do our best and take control of the race at some point. I think that'll be very important.
Well, certainly looking forward to it. This is one of the best races of the week for us here. Big field, big competition, big rivalries. There's a lot of things going on here in this Davidson Builders Truck Series. Caleb, again, congratulations on a 3rd place run. Who do you want to shout out to?
Huge shout out to Skunk Works Graphics. They continue to support. I really appreciate that. PassingUnderYellow.com. Go by and get your C-Open setups. They have been lightning fast the last 2 weeks. Haven't been racing a lot of officials. Gotten a top split official last week. Started dead last, didn't qualify. Was racing for the lead with 7,000 I rating in about 8 laps. So Homestead setup is about a 0.5 off the world record right now. They're really quick, so huge shout out to them. Appreciate their support. And Derek Welch, NTRL, HBR TV, yourself, Steve, and all the associate sponsors. Appreciate it. It's a good time on Tuesday. Good night.
Now, with that said here, real quick, speaking of setups, I want to give you a pat on the back here. There was a Numb Thumbs Racing League Xfinity race at Motegi. I believe it was yesterday that I had tried to get a setup together for them myself. I can do some things here and there, but not great. And I sought out the assistance from yourself to improve upon what I had, which wasn't much. And you did a masterful job at it. Derek was really happy with it. I think the league racers in that particular event were very happy with the setup as well. So I want to publicly thank you for your help on that, man. It was a job well done, and man, that thing was fast.
Hey, man, appreciate the shout out, and anytime, I'm here to help. I just want people to have fun and race clean.
All right, brother. Well, Caleb Sisk, third place finisher here, man. Thanks for chatting with us, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week in Charlotte.
All right, man, you have a great night.
Too. Caleb Sisk, your third place finisher here at Michigan Speedway. Let's take a look here at our race results. Zach Millett, Alfie Charon, Caleb Sisk, of course, your top three. Chris Klein was fourth. Brian Torsha, like a Porsche, finishes in the fifth spot. Cole Henriksen, sixth. Derek Welch comes home in the seventh spot. Tyler Dittmer was eighth. Skylar Harrod was ninth. Brandon Coleman, 10th. Mike Adamson was 11th. Jesse Redding finishes in the 12th spot. Hunter Parsons was in contention, honestly, I think, for a race win. Things just didn't come to fruition there. Some contact with the 9 late. Hard racing, I think, but not the one making that decision. I'm sure somebody will talk about it after the fact. Parsons finishes in the 13th spot. Jeff Ottinger was 14th. Paul Durkee comes home in the 15th spot. 16th goes to Mark Collins. Albert Anderson led some laps here tonight, quite a few actually. Strategy doesn't work for him the best. He finishes 17th. PJ Cox was 18th in the Viagra machine. Jarrett Woodard was 19th. 20th goes to Evan Dupre. Jacob Sperling was 21st. 22nd, Tony Polk. 23rd, Ben McKinnon. 24th is Rob Chipman Jr. Jesse Sperling was 25th. Scott Milner, 26th. 27th went to Russ Kilgore. 28th, Justin Morrow. 29th, Eric Beadle. Dave Holmberg was 30th. 31st, Justin Lawson. Man, there's a lot of Justins and J names in here. Michael Eden was 32nd. Tom Barish, 33rd. 93 laps down. Race distance was only 90 laps. Obviously, we had a green-white checker there at the end. I don't think Tom took the green flag. Nevertheless, credited with the 33rd position here in the finishing order. I want to thank you guys for tuning in here tonight. We certainly do appreciate it. Not a real busy stream chat tonight. You guys work on that for next week. That's your homework. But thank you guys all for tuning in all seriousness. We do appreciate the patronage. If you have an opportunity, check out the website, hbrtv1.com. Don't think I got the stream link put up there tonight, but most nights we try to get it posted. At the very least, if you click the old link, it'll still take you to our YouTube page. And speaking of the YouTube page, please give the stream a like, a follow, a subscribe, a share, however you got to do it. But likes are most important. Don't forget that. Like the particular stream that you just watched. It gets it in front of some new eyeballs, new audiences. It helps us here at the channel and also the league. So that's my spiel, and I'm sticking to it. I'm Steve Singer with HBR TV, congratulating Zach Millett and Alfie Charon on a 1-2 finish here at Michigan Speedway. Tune in next week at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night.